Okay, we're back. Let's jump into Milwaukee and Miami. I don't think I'm ready to give any sort of big overarching takeaway on this series. I still think Milwaukee is probably okay long term. I still think that once Giannis gets back, this is an entirely different series than what we've seen so far. A big part of what I think Miami's success has been is that ability to go smaller when Milwaukee is playing the two big constructions like Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez in this game today, particularly. Bobby Portis is obviously a very useful player off the bench for Milwaukee, but when you start using him often against a smaller team like Miami, I think it's a little bit too easy, especially for a genius like Erik Spoelstra, to be able to involve him in primary actions and to be able to get shooters free from distance. Miami goes 16 of 33 from three. They've just been unconscious in this series from behind the 3-point line. Duncan Robinson goes 5 for 6 from three in this game. Jimmy Butler goes 4 for 4 from three in this game. If Jimmy Butler and Duncan Robinson are going 9 of 10 from three, the odds are you're going to lose just most nights. That's the reality of the situation. Having said that, I do think that some of the creative ways that Miami is utilizing Jimmy to get him free are really interesting. Now, Jimmy Butler only had to play 28 minutes tonight, which is huge for Miami moving forward. He goes 12 of 19 from the field, has 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and goes for 30 points. And the big thing that stands out to me in terms of the way they utilized him in this game without Giannis Antetokounmpo, they're either as a primary potential defender on him or as a help side defender coming over from that weak side. It is the way that they've gotten Jimmy the ball in empty side action. So we're going to, again, pull up some tape here, dive into the way that Miami is utilizing Jimmy Butler here. So you're going to see, again, Jimmy Butler on an empty side of the court. He clears out Caleb Martin from that side, and he has Drew just on an island here. Drew Holiday is one of the absolute best defenders that you would want on an island against Jimmy Butler. There is no question that this is an assignment that Drew is about as well equipped as anybody to handle. It's just that Jimmy is, 3 inches taller, a little bit longer than Drew is, and it's just hard. So again, empty side, ball screen, and then Strus again clears out. Just a bit of a miscommunication there between Brook Lopez and Drew Holiday, two great defenders. It happens. I love the way, though, that they use Jimmy here as a ball handler going toward that empty side of the court, basically putting Brook Lopez to the test in terms of what his decision is going to be. Do I actually go out and guard Max Strus at the 3-point line, a very high level 3-point shooter, or do I have to stay home on Jimmy? Probably leaves a little bit too early. At the end of the day, I think they kind of just need to switch that action on the empty side of the court, as you'll see here momentarily. But at the end of the day, there's a bit of miscommunication. Easy dunk for Jimmy Butler. We're going to go to the next play here. Jimmy Butler, top of the key. He's actually going to ask literally everybody just to clear out of this side of the court again. Drew Holiday, he posts Drew here. And it's just like that's the difference in Drew Holiday and Jimmy Butler's size. Jimmy can just shoot over the top and elevate over Drew. That's probably a shot that Milwaukee is fine with. But I don't know how great I feel about Jimmy Butler just getting a wide open look. Not wide open, but an in-rhythm turnaround jumper. As good as Drew Holiday is, Jimmy Butler's a stud. This guy is locked in the playoffs every single year. This is not easy, in my opinion, for Milwaukee. Again, they're probably fine with that shot. I don't know that I would be, though. Again, Jimmy Butler emptied out again. You're going to see a screen come up, slip to the top of the key, and just a few pump fakes. Drew Holiday, again, a little bit too short. This is going to be Jimmy kind of slipping into the corner here. Oh, no, it's not. This is actually a counter. I'm sorry. This is one that I just wanted to show as a counter. So Kyle Lowry here, you would expect, based on what we'd seen throughout this game, Jimmy just to slip to the corner and, again, get that isolated side of the court. But Kyle adjusts here. and goes to the empty side himself, leaving Jimmy at the top of the key. And yeah, you can say that Pat Connaughton kind of fell out of the play here, but I really like that as an adjustment to kind of make Milwaukee think about different potential options here. Again, you're going to see this is a Bam Adebayo rebound into a Kyle Lowry hit ahead. Duncan clears out. He's at the top of the key. Everybody clears out. You're going to see this is just a very easy play for Jimmy to get around Brook Lopez. Again, I think that was the best option in any sort of ball screen action. You probably had to just live with Brook switched on to Jimmy. It's not an ideal circumstance, but you have to kind of hope that Brook can contain. In this circumstance, he doesn't. But this is the kind of problem that Jimmy Butler presents for defenses. He is such a mismatch nightmare. His size is a little bit too big for smaller guys like Jrue Holiday, a little bit too quick and powerful for guys like Brook Lopez. And again, finally here, emptied outside of the court. This is Joe Ingles on him. I mean, I'm sure that Jimmy was just licking his lips here. All due respect to Joe, one of the most competitive guys you'll find in the NBA. Jrue is kind of like, you'll see, inching over. He's kind of assuming that we're going to see Jimmy drive and go for it again. Again, gets cut off here by Ingles. Jimmy actually misses this shot. But you know what? Like, that's a shot that they're going to be happy with. This is how Jimmy Butler throughout the course of this game ended up with his 30 ball. They just completely empty out the side of the court and they're very comfortable. Now, if you're Milwaukee, how do you adjust to this, right? I think it's actually a pretty easy adjustment. Get Giannis back. If you have Giannis there on those screening actions where they're trying to get Jimmy into the empty side of the court, you just switch them. Giannis swallows up Jimmy. It's way harder to shoot over the top of Giannis than it is Jrue Holiday if you're Jimmy Butler. Or you can just straight up have Jimmy guarded by Giannis in those circumstances if they really start to go repeatedly to that set where they're getting Giannis or getting Jimmy, in that empty side of the court. The adjustment is get Giannis back. Ultimately, that's what a lot of these adjustments come down to. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, get Giannis back on the court and things are different and the entire geometry of the series changes, essentially. Again, though, this is a game where Miami, again, shot an unconscious percentage from three. Milwaukee throughout the year, especially with Giannis, has been very consistent at closing out on three-point shooters and making it difficult for them. That's part of what their defense is, right? They trust that if guys attack a heavy closeout, they have Brook Lopez on the interior, and he's going to be able to contest around the basket. That is the way that their defense works. It's much harder to make that defense work, and it's much harder to get that help defender in there. If you're going on the empty side of the court, you really just need an absolute stud one-on-one defender that Jimmy can't just shoot over the top of. The problem for Milwaukee in this circumstance is Jrue is just a little too small for Jimmy, and they don't really have a primary wing defender. A lot of their guys are, 6'5" and shorter that Jimmy can just kind of shoot over the top of and elevate. So again, this is why I didn't want to spend a ton of time on this series necessarily. Miami is up 2-1. They have home court advantage still. That's an important factor if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. As soon as Giannis gets back, this is an entirely different series, and we'll see how Erik Spoelstra adjusts. And if he can stay on the front foot against Mike Budenholzer, a guy that throughout the course of his career has not necessarily always stayed on the front foot of games.